The retirement gift she never expected. Welcome to Breakup, cheater. If you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves stories where karma doesn't just knock, it bulldozes. Let's get into today's story. The night I retired, the sky glowed over Crestview Tower's 20th floor, where my company was hosting a farewell party I'd earned over 3 decades. Floor-to-ceiling glass, ambient jazz, gourmet hors d'oeuvres, and about 70 familiar faces, former interns, partners, and even a few rivals, all shaking my hand, raising glasses, calling me a legend. My name, Miles Granger, was frosted in bold blue across a cake that read, "A Legacy of Leadership." I'd been vice president of corporate finance at Argento Investments for over 20 years. The guy people respected leaned on, then forgot the moment his office nameplate came down. My wife, Celeste, sat near the front, in the navy sheath dress I always loved. She smiled like she was proud, her eyes shining with just the right amount of emotion. She'd been unusually affectionate these past few weeks. Every move felt rehearsed, every touch like it was playing to an audience. Our son, Griffin, hovered by the bar, scrolling through his phone like he couldn't care less. He never gave a damn about what I did for a living. When I once offered to mentor him into the company, he scoffed and said, "Finance is a retirement home for suits." He wanted fast success, not structure. After the speeches and applause died down, I raised my glass, smiled at the sea of faces, and stepped off the stage. Celeste was already waiting at the foot of the steps, slipping her arm through mine. "You have a second?" she asked sweetly. "Of course," I replied. She guided me toward a quiet alcove behind the bar. That's when I noticed Griffin was already standing there, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Celeste reached into her handbag and pulled out a cream-colored folder. "What's this?" "Yes." She handed it over like it was a birthday card. "A little retirement surprise," she said with a grin. Griffin chimed in before I could open it. "Clean and easy, Dad. No drama. We've sorted everything." I flipped open the folder. Divorce papers, property transfer agreements, pre-filled asset declarations, notarized signatures. Celeste tilted her head. "It's nothing personal, Miles. You've had your run. Now it's our turn." I looked at her, then at Griffin. No outburst, no pleading. I reached into my jacket, pulled out my Mont Blanc pen, and signed each page slowly, deliberately. "Understood," I said quietly. They smiled like they'd just pulled off a flawless heist. They didn't know that was their first move. Mine had already been in play for months. By the time the sun rose the next morning, I was gone. I didn't say goodbye. I left my keys on the counter and walked out of the house for the last time. Not to a hotel, not to a friend's couch, but to a small, unassuming one-bedroom apartment on the edge of Brighton's south side. I'd leased it under a false name 6 months ago. Nothing flashy, just quiet. Anonymous. There, in that forgotten corner of the city, I booted up the system I'd been building since the night I first saw Celeste's messages to Trevor Langford, her real estate partner. Those messages weren't just flirtatious, they were strategic. Flight confirmations, shared hotel rooms, cash transfers, plans. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning a coup. "This is the year we secure everything," one message read. "Miles is retiring. We'll split clean. He won't fight, he's too proud." They didn't know I'd cloned Celeste's phone. Every text, photo, and deleted voicemail synced to my private drive in real time. I'd spent the last few months restructuring everything. Liquidated my 401k into foreign accounts under shell trusts. Moved property deeds into private holdings. Disguised my portfolio with dummy corporations. Every traceable thread buried under layers of encrypted transactions. When Celeste handed me that folder, she thought she was taking everything. The truth. She was walking away with a couch and some cutlery. At 3:17 p.m. I got a security alert. Griffin had tried to access my investment account. Access denied. At 4:10 p.m. Celeste tried the joint checking. Zero balance. Then the texts came flooding in. "Where are you? Why can't we access the accounts? I'm calling the bank." I leaned back in my chair and watched the cracks form. By midnight, my cloned feed from Celeste's phone showed 37 missed calls. From lawyers. From Trevor. From our CPA. From Griffin. They were circling the drain and didn't even realize it yet. The next day, her panicked voice echoed through the tapped microphone I'd planted under her office desk. "Why can't I access anything?" she hissed. Trevor responded. "Everything's frozen. Mason says the funds are gone." Completely. Smiled. Griffin had been experimenting with high-risk crypto trades. I let him. Even injected fake funds to inflate his confidence. Meanwhile, I siphoned the real assets into protected accounts. By 1 p.m., Trevor's firm received an IRS audit notice, courtesy of a package I'd anonymously sent with 10 years of doctored books and fraud evidence. At 2:15, a reporter contacted Celeste's office, asking about alleged real estate fraud. I had forwarded them proof of manipulated zoning paperwork and forged signatures. At 3 p.m., Griffin's employer revoked his security badge. The anonymous tip from a concerned citizen included proof of unauthorized financial transfers. Just enough to trigger an investigation. Then my encrypted phone buzzed. It was Nina, my former assistant, and in truth the mastermind's second pair of hands. 10 years at my side. The only person who knew the entire blueprint. I had told her to vanish 3 days before the retirement party. She followed the order. Her text read simply, "Both law firms just withdrew representation. They're scrambling. We're live." 3 days later, a small black box arrived on Celeste's doorstep. No return address. The footage, from a street camera I'd patched into, showed her staring at it like it was ticking. Inside, a burner phone and a silver USB drive. The phone rang. She answered. "Hello." I waited a moment. "You should have finished the game before you made your move." "Miles." Her voice cracked. "Yes. Where are you? What is this?" "Not hell," I said. "Just consequences." "Is this revenge?" "No. This is accountability." She opened the USB on her laptop. Video files, voice memos, screenshots, bank statements, plans between her and Trevor. Griffin's accounts. Her voice in recordings telling Trevor I was too tired to fight, and ripe for the taking. She didn't speak for a long time. Then quietly, "What do you want?" "You already gave me what I wanted," I said. "You revealed yourself." Nina made her move next. She walked into Trevor's office under the alias Marla Dean, posing as a risk management consultant. Trevor, already flailing from the audit, let her in. She dropped a folder on his desk, proof of illicit meetings, hidden offshore accounts, and internal fraud. Then came the kicker. A voice recorder and a timeline of his deleted emails. Trevor realized in that moment, this wasn't a scandal. It was a takedown. Meanwhile, Celeste tried a more desperate move. She drove across state lines to my brother Elias, a former judge and lifelong recluse. She cried, pleaded, begged for insight into how to reach me. He listened, then told her the truth she'd avoided for years. "You never understood the man you married." She left with nothing but silence, and the sight of her own reflection in the window. The final blow came a week later. Celeste, Griffin, and Trevor were summoned to a mediation meeting. They expected a settlement. Instead, they walked into a conference room lined with cameras, reporters, state agents, and a wall-sized projection screen. What followed was 40 minutes of undeniable evidence. Her zoning fraud. Griffin's falsified accounts. Trevor's shell company scandal. Audio clips, emails, live commentary from a federal agent. Celeste tried to leave. Security blocked the door. They didn't realize. I hadn't just survived betrayal. I'd architected their reckoning. 6 months later, I lived oceans away, in a stone house by the sea. No headlines. No surveillance. No more need to look back. The encrypted phone buzzed one last time. "Nina. Trevor's been sentenced. Griffin's headed to trial. Celeste lost her license. 3 lawsuits incoming. We're done." I looked out at the ocean. Finally, peace. People ask if revenge is worth it. But this wasn't revenge. This was precision, patience. A quiet man refusing to be underestimated again. They handed me betrayal. I handed back the truth, with receipts. Then I erased every tracker, shut down every server, and walked to the water. The game wasn't mine anymore. Because the board had already been cleared. Checkmate. Thanks for watching Breakup Cheater. If this one gave you chills, let me know in the comments. And remember, don't underestimate the quiet ones. They usually walk away last. Because they're the ones who end the story. Subscribe for more.